What's up, everybody? It's Make It Make Sense. This is breaking news. There are 3 new Diddy lawsuits, and these are actually fairly recent, which is very different than what we've been seeing. So, like the video's intro plays, we got a lot to get into, and I don't have a lot of time today.
Make it make sense.
Make it make sense to me intellectually.
Make it make sense. You know what was up.
Big moves.
Surfer.
Make it make sense. Tell me how you squeeze it. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things that you say. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things of your dreams. Hey, let me work out all the things in between. Make it make sense. Tell me how you squeeze it. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things that you say. Make it make sense. Tell me about the things of your dreams. Hey, let me work out all the things.
Your name is right now, bad boy. Love. Well, we about to make love. And then we gonna change your name back to Diddy. Cause then we gonna Diddy. Then we gonna change your name back to Puffy. Cause that's what you gonna be when we done Diddy.
I like that.
Hold on, wait, you ain't supposed to like it. It's,
I like what you're talking about.
I don't like it if you
I hate
like it.
scrambling and scraping.
Hey,
That's a lot. I like that. I like you.
guard?
I ain't locked in here with you, playboy. You locked in here with me.
Hey, no Diddy, bro.
And grab that baby roll over there and lather up.
Lather up.
Thought I told you that. We
Hey,
won't
nah,
stop.
man, hold
Thought I
on.
told you.
Okay, y'all. Before we get into this lawsuit, couple things. Today is going to be jam-packed for me. No matter what, we are definitely doing a members-only live today, and I'm going to be saying some stuff in that members-only live. Without saying too much, I'm not a person who goes out of their way to... I don't give things life, but we got some stuff to talk about. So that's happening today. I don't know what time. I'm still working on my Foxy Brown video, but it keeps growing. So the Foxy Brown video started off as something that was going to be only a couple minutes, but it's growing, and I'm starting to see all of these other weird, nasty, strange connections, even like some song lyrics. In Hell of a Life by Kanye, it says, gotta do a gangbang. And if we run trains, we all in the same gang. Runaway slaves all on a chain gang. And it got me to thinking about Diddy and how he incorporates people into this web. And once you're in the web, you're basically in the chain gang. So I've been looking at all of these lyrics. Jay-Z's ex using his song lyrics against him. It's crazy, but I just keep like pulling at these pieces. So it's not that I don't have the Foxy Brown video ready. I'm adding stuff to it because you guys know how my mind works. Once I see something, I can't unsee it. And then I just start like pulling at pieces. But this sounds almost like it's too on the nose. And if we won trains, we all in the same gang. For those of you guys who don't know, a train is when multiple people get together and have, intercourse with one person. So most times it's like a group of dudes and they are all going to at some point insert something into that woman. So, and if we run trains, we all in the same gang, meaning that we're in it together. It's just the way my mind works, but it's little things like that let you know that people have been saying this shit. It's just been under the radar. And when you put it to a good beat, you're not even thinking. So all that's coming out, but definitely I will be doing that members only live today for sure. And I'm low-key kind of annoyed. But let's get right into this because there's 3 recent lawsuits that we have to talk about. They were just filed today. They were not filed by Busby. They were not filed by Tyrone Blackburn. I'll show you guys who filed it. And they're all men. I had it right here. Reingold, Guaffer, and Rufo, Plotkin, and Hellman. That's a lot of partners. But a lot of people, have their issues with Busby. A lot of people have their issues with Tyrone Blackburn. I'm glad that survivors have, or alleged survivors have, more outlets. But again, this is breaking news, so let's get right into it. Let's see. Nature of action. This action is brought pursuant to New York civil practice. Action by victim of conduct constituting certain sexual offenses. Let's try to get to 1,000 likes pretty quickly, guys. I don't know where we are, but we have 1,600 in the chat. We only have like 300 likes. Definitely hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Let's see. This complaint is based on the negligent, willful, or intentional failure of the defendants to protect plaintiff John Doe from being sexually abused and exploited by defendant Sean Combs when John Doe was having a meeting with defendant Sean Combs in a suite at the Intercontinental Times Square in New York, New York. Factual allegations. Plaintiff met defendant Sean Combs in about 2006 when Sean Combs hired... I'm sorry. We should be saying this each and every time. Trigger warning. We're about to go through the graphic details of this lawsuit. So if somebody being taken advantage of triggers you, this is not the video for you. We have a lot of other videos on this channel, but this one, we're going over all of the allegations. Plaintiff met defendant Sean Combs in about 2006 when Sean Combs hired plaintiff to run errands for him in his capacity as CEO of Bad Boy Records. In or about February 2020, plaintiff set up a meeting with defendant Sean Combs through Combs' assistant to discuss missing job payments. In or about February 2020, plaintiff arrived at the Intercontinental. Why did I think this was about Farnsworth Bentley at first? Somebody who worked from him in 2006, but then came back in 2020 to ask for missed payments. I don't know why I thought that was Farnsworth Bentley. Everybody's been waiting to hear from him. If this is his lawsuit, that would be crazy. In or about February 2020, plaintiff arrived at the Intercontinental New York Times Square and IHG Hotel to meet Sean Combs in his suite around 8 p.m. When plaintiff arrived at defendant Sean Combs' suite, Combs was the only person in the suite as his security guards had left the room. As plaintiff and defendant Sean Combs discussed business matters, Combs made both plaintiff and him alcoholic drinks. Unbeknownst to plaintiff at the time, his drink was drugged by defendant Sean Combs in a way that made plaintiff excessively tired. After voicing this to defendant Sean Combs, Combs suggested that plaintiff lay down on the couch and take a nap, which plaintiff did. When plaintiff awoke, he found himself laying on his stomach, bent over the end of the couch with his pants pulled down, while defendant Sean Combs sodomized plaintiff with his little Diddy. Plaintiff had not consented to this kind of sexual activity or any, and had been incapable of consent while sleeping. When plaintiff questioned defendant Sean Combs and attempted to resist his advances, Combs told him to stop and that he was almost done. Consent is consent. Consent is consent. Period. Being almost finished doesn't even matter if you were never supposed to insert yourself in the man in the first place. Defendant Sean Combs then finished shortly thereafter. After the R word, defendant Sean Combs told plaintiff that going to the police will make plaintiff look like an idiot, and that because Combs is Diddy, plaintiff would never be able to substantiate his claims against Combs. That men from defendant Sean Combs' entourage also called plaintiff on his cell phone to threaten and intimidate plaintiff into silence after the sexual assault. This sounds like par for the course. I always talk about these wealthy people like this. Once you can have it all, you want what you can't technically have. Once you have, I always say this, ultimate power, ultimate money, ultimately corrupts. If, there's studies now indicating that people watch, adult movies so much that regular intercourse is now boring or you're desensitized to it. So there's a heightened sexual desire, awareness that comes from constantly seeing images of people doing, more and more graphic things. the same applies. If you've had every model, they've thrown themselves at you. You don't want that. If you've had every male model, they've thrown themselves at you. You don't want that. You want something that is taboo. And that's why you see so many of these very, very, very rich people who are considered the upper echelon, people who are politicians, people who have some notoriety. You start to want things that are taboo or out of your reach because you can reach and get anything else that you want. Lexi Lean said, find willing participants. Well, that's not taboo, right? Like you've had everything, you've had everybody. You want something, or you want something from somebody that doesn't want you, or you go the other route and you want something, you want to take somebody's innocence. So we can talk about all of the children that are impacted this way, but you can also see on, it's not even black market anymore. There are a lot of 18-year-old men and women who sell their virginity to the highest bidder. I don't have to quote unquote that. You've seen it. You saw it maybe about 5-6 years ago was the first time I saw somebody. I think she was a girl from Russia. She was selling her virginity the minute she turned 18. And it was somebody paid millions of dollars. One of these people who did it through, some untraceable whatever. That's what these people want. So I guess I'm desensitized to seeing this now because I feel like that's the MO of so many of these rich people. I want what I cannot have. And for them, they have so many handlers and they have so much money, they can actively take it from people. And then, like he told this man, nobody's going to believe you because I'm Diddy. Then, which I don't know if I should say this, but I have heard that Diddy does use his connections to reach out to you, to kind of like take your guard down. Like, let me see, how can I use this as an example? Let's go back to Jane Doe number one, because we've been talking about Jane Doe number one. We've been talking about Jane Doe number one. Let's say that Diddy knew Jane Doe number one's husband. We'll just use that as an example. Diddy would play up that relationship with Jane Doe's husband in order to kind of bend Jane Doe to the will. Think Kalina. Kalina had some connection to Diddy, but Kalina's husband, who was a producer, had a bigger connection to Diddy. So Diddy was able to, through coercion of the husband, definitely guarantee that Kalina was going to say what he wanted her to say, in addition to whatever payments that he sent her. That's the way Diddy works. That's the way that these predators disarm you. They use something that's comfortable to you to get to you. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. If you're just coming in, we have close to 3,000 people. Hopefully we have 1,000 likes. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. At this point, y'all, we're doing minute to minute. You're going to be getting a lot more short videos. I'm having to go through everything for Diddy every day, everything for Jay-Z every day. It's a lot, but I think it's important, and we're going to keep doing it on this channel. Does Allie have a lawsuit? No, not to my knowledge. And I've been watching her videos recently, just FYI. Allegedly banner. Okay, you're right. Let me put that up, Great Moon. Because Jay-Z is so happy. Oh, Jay-Z is definitely so happy. Let's see. The second John Doe, also by the same attorney. Nature of action. This action is action by victim of conduct constituting certain sexual offenses. This complaint is based on the negligent, willful, or intentional failure of the defendants to protect plaintiff John Doe from being sexually abused and exploited by Sean Combs when John Doe was in defendant Sean Combs' hotel suite at the Park Hyatt, New York. Let me see. All these people be staying like in Times Square. I stayed in Times Square for Halloween and I hated it. it's too much. It's like overstimulation. There's so many people, and I was in that Drake costume, so everybody was all on my BBL Drizzy. The not real New Yorkers. Real New Yorkers, I was going into restaurants and stuff in that BBL costume, and the New Yorkers paid me no mind until I left. Then they would laugh at me. And I know that for a fact because I went to this little bakery in Times Square, and it was like 3 young people, and the black girl, I could see she was trying to hold it in. She didn't want to laugh in my face. And so I left and she bust out laughing, and I went back in, and I was like, this is New York, to not even acknowledge me, knowing damn well you want to laugh, but you wait till I leave. And then her and, the rest of them all started laughing and we talked, but it was the people who were visiting that was like very aggressive with the BBL costume. Oh, anyway, second lawsuit. Plaintiff met defendant Sean Combs in 2019 at the nightclub known as Marquee. Plaintiff was able to meet defendant Sean Combs because, Marquee. Is Marquee the same club that they allege Jamie Foxx assaulted that victim? You guys can put in the comments if you remember. I got to follow up on the Jamie Foxx lawsuit as well, but is Marquee the same one? It sounds familiar. Plaintiff was able to meet defendant Sean Combs because plaintiff's friend, Andrew, was a club promoter with connections in the music industry. Around midnight, defendant Sean Combs' security guards recruited plaintiff to join Sean Combs and the rest of his entourage at the Park Hyatt Hotel for an exclusive afterparty. Plaintiff then joined defendant Sean Combs and about 10 other people from Bad Boy Records at Sean Combs' hotel suite within the Park Hyatt, New York. Therein, defendant Sean Combs personally offered plaintiff a cocktail, which defendant Sean Combs had made in another room. Unbeknownst to the plaintiff at the time, this drink had been drugged by defendant Sean Combs. Soon after, defendant Combs started ushering his guests, included plaintiff, into the bedroom within the hotel suite. During this time, plaintiff had consumed about half the drink that defendant Sean Combs had made for him. Once plaintiff entered the bedroom, the room started spinning and his mouth became very dry. Plaintiff voiced to defendant Sean Combs that he was not feeling well, so defendant Sean Combs offered to take plaintiff's jacket and instructed him to sit down on the end of the bed, which plaintiff did. While plaintiff was sitting on the bed feeling disoriented, defendant Sean Combs looked at him and the other people in the room and said, "Hey, he is ready to party." Now, as I'm reading this, maybe it's just me and I'm critical of everything and everybody, and I'm always questioning people's motives. But if you go back to the original part of this complaint, he said plaintiff was able to meet defendant Sean Combs because plaintiff's friend, Andrew, was a club promoter with connections in the music industry. Are y'all thinking what I'm thinking? Could Andrew be one of these connectors? We heard in another lawsuit that it was a fitness dude and he knew some girl who had told Diddy about him. And then Diddy then allegedly took advantage of that man. At this point, if my friend Andrew put me in connection to Diddy, I would be questioning Andrew as well. Like, was I a mark? Because again, Diddy uses his connections. So I don't know if these people, I don't know who Andrew is, but I don't know if these people know what Diddy's proclivities are and are willing to sell their friend down the line to connect them to Diddy for clout, for more connections in the music industry. I'm telling you, that is how this man works on the back end. Yes, Diddy is extremely wealthy, but you're more like, let's say you're more likely to go into Diddy's bedroom because you knew somebody else who was there, or you were more likely to go a little bit further because your friend was there. I feel like maybe handler isn't the best word, but maybe you're part of the web, you're part of the connection, you're part of the problem. You know what it is. You put your friend on. Oh yeah, definitely hang out. I hung out with them or whatever. It was all good. I was able to secure a deal. Definitely see what you can get out of it. If they want to hang out, you go and hang out. I know you. I know Andrew. Okay, somebody rich and famous offers you a drink, they're known for their alcohol. Okay, but your guards are already down because they're using people that you might know. Recruiter enabler, being Latin, that's a good one. Recruiter for sure. Complicit, links in the chain. Yeah, co-conspirators. I don't know, Andrew. I'm just looking at it from an impartial space. And even in this moment, he's saying my friend Andrew connected me. So there is a sense of familiarity that's already there. But okay, just the way I think could totally be off. Defendant Sean Combs personally offered plaintiff a cocktail, which defendant Sean Combs had made in another room. Unbeknownst to plaintiff at the time, this drink had been drugged by defendant Sean Combs. Soon after, defendant Combs started ushering his guests, including plaintiff, into the bedroom within the hotel suite. During this time, plaintiff had consumed about half the drink and that defendant Combs made for him. Once plaintiff entered the bedroom, the room started spinning and his mouth became very dry. Plaintiff voiced to defendant Sean Combs that he was not feeling well, so defendant Combs offered to take plaintiff's jacket and instructed plaintiff to sit down at the end of the bed. While plaintiff was sitting on the bed, feeling disoriented, Sean Combs looked at him and the other people in the room and said, "He is ready." Be like, ready for what? Defendant Sean Combs then ushered plaintiff to lay down on the sectional sofa besides the bed. Shortly after laying down on the sectional sofa, plaintiff lost consciousness. When plaintiff awoke, he found himself laying on his stomach on the couch, fully naked, while defendant Sean Combs was sodomizing plaintiff with his little ditty. Plaintiff had not consented to this kind of activity or any, and had been incapable of consent while sleeping. During the assault, in this brief moment of consciousness, plaintiff attempted to resist defendant Sean Combs' advances, but was unable to do so. During this brief moment of consciousness, plaintiff noticed that while he was being sexually assaulted by defendant Combs on the sectional sofa, there was a man and a woman sitting on the bed recording the R word on camera. So you are literally producing your assaults like you are producing and directing a movie. Same MO. Same type of situation. Although this is the first time I'm really hearing that a woman was in the room where an alleged victim was a male. I've always maintained that we never heard Cassie say anything about Diddy. We always heard Cassie kind of describe Diddy as a man who likes to watch his woman with other men. We never really heard her say, and Diddy bent over, or Diddy, touched the man, or Diddy, got to sucking or something like that. We never really heard that. And every time there's like a group of men, usually it's a group of men and there's no women. So this is the first time I'm hearing that a woman was in the room while a man was taken advantage of. Plaintiff then was caused to lose consciousness again. When plaintiff awoke the next morning, the two people with the camera were laying on the bed, but defendant Sean Combs was no longer there. Plaintiff then began putting his clothes on when the man who was laying on the bed got up and handed plaintiff about $2,500 in cash, which the man explained was being given to plaintiff on behalf of Sean Combs. Now, I've also not really heard anything about money being exchanged. Usually, just from these complaints, the person comes in, the person loses consciousness, the person is violated, then they're kind of ushered out, or they just kind of like are disoriented and leave, or they just end up at home. This is the first time that I'm hearing cash has been like exchanged. And it also makes me think that if he paid for this, then maybe he paid Andrew for the connect. Diddy kind of has a type. He likes, allegedly, dark skin, tall, black men with big D's. So I wouldn't be surprised if this John Doe fit that description. Even with the stuff that happened with Cassie, Diddy allegedly started kind of making Cassie, not allegedly, according to Cassie, Diddy started making her pay and pick the people who she was going to have to engage in sexually. But from what we've been hearing, Diddy's type is tall, dark, black men with big D's. Or maybe just the big D is the only thing. I don't know. I'm just going based on the lawsuit. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't allegedly care what the big D is connected to as long as it's a big D. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Disoriented and confused, plaintiff accepted the money, got dressed, and vacated the hotel suite. Out of fear and humiliation, plaintiff never told anyone about the aforementioned incident until now. And this just kind of goes into some of the backstory. They talk a little bit about Cassie. Let's see if they tell us how much money that they want. Awarding compensatory damages in the amount to be proved at trial, but in any event, in an amount that exceeds the jurisdictional limits of a lower courts, which would otherwise have jurisdiction to the extent permitted by law. Awarding punitive damages to the extent permitted by law. Awarding costs and fees of this action, including attorney fees, to the extent permitted by the law, which that's very important because most of these people don't have a lot of money. So their cases are on contingency, meaning we're going to take your case. If we win, we already have a specified percentage of your payout will go to the attorneys. Awarding prejudgment interest to the extent permitted by law, and awarding such and other further relief as the court may deem proper. Not somebody saying I like that too. Aaron Hall types. Yeah, that's when we really got to see that, Aaron Hall was the one allegedly who got him into the whole filming stuff. Like Aaron Hall was the one who wanted all the boys from Jodeci to watch him. Aaron Hall was the one who didn't really care that video model was underage. He said he just grabbed her, took her, and effed her. And he had a big D and all that. Like we saw all that. It's all in court documents. That's another one I need to look into and see where they're at with that particular case. But he has a type, allegedly. Okay, here's the last one. Now, we're going to have to talk about this one kind of open and honestly because I have some questions. Upon information and belief, let me start here at the beginning. Nature of the action. This complaint is based on the negligent, willful, or intentional failure of the defendants to protect plaintiff John Doe from being sexually abused and exploited by Sean Combs when Doe was attending a party at Sean Combs' residence in the Hamptons. Where is the actual factual allegations? Okay, here we go. Upon information and belief, plaintiff met defendant Sean Combs in or about 2020 after plaintiff was introduced to Combs by one of his associates. Again, plaintiff was introduced to Combs by one of his associates. We don't know how many of these people were recruiters. Like a lot of times what we've learned is there's like an MO. So people oftentimes look for people who they feel are weak. People who they feel don't have any other attachments to the world. That's why you see a lot of people who will go after people in foster care, children who cannot fight for themselves. They take advantage of. They look for people whom they feel are weak, whether the person is not weak or not, or whether the person is weak or not. So I would be looking at anybody side-eyed if I called you a friend, an associate, a business partner, a family member, and you had any insight into who Diddy was on a personal level, and you tried to connect me to that person. Between 2020 and 2022, plaintiff fell victim to one or more criminal sex acts at the hands of Sean Combs and his associates. So remember item number 27, between 20 and 2022. In or about the summer of 2020, one defendant, Sean Combs' associates from Bad Boy Records, invited plaintiff to a party at Combs' residence in the Hamptons. In or about the summer of 2020, plaintiff then flew from Florida to New York City in order to attend the aforementioned party. When plaintiff arrived in New York, he stayed at a hotel in Manhattan for one night. The next day, plaintiff was picked up by one of defendant Combs' associates from Bad Boy Records and was then driven to Combs' residence, Once at the defendant Sean Combs' Hampton house, plaintiff began socializing and drinking with Sean Combs and his associates from Bad Boy Records. They keep saying Bad Boy Records because you know they're all up and through this lawsuit. Soon after, plaintiff began feeling ill and subsequently lost consciousness, not being able to remember much of what happened after consuming this beverage. Unbeknownst to plaintiff at the time, his drink had been drugged by defendant Sean Combs. Throughout the rest of the night, plaintiff faded in and out of consciousness. During this time, defendant Sean Combs and his associates from Bad Boy Records sodomized plaintiff and took turns violating them from the back door. Plaintiff attempted to resist their sexual advances, but was unable to do so. Plaintiff had not consented to this kind of sexual activity or any, and had been incapable of consent while unconscious. When plaintiff awoke the next morning, he had severe pain in his butt and woke up surrounded by defendant Sean Combs' associates from Bad Boy Records. At this time, plaintiff did not see defendant Sean Combs. Shortly after waking up, plaintiff vacated defendant Sean Combs' residence. Out of fear and humiliation, plaintiff never told anybody about the aforementioned incident until now. Now, I said that I had questions. So this was clearly a allegation from 2020, but this person says between 20 and 2022. So I'm confused by that. I don't understand. Is this a situation where in the complaint you only talked about maybe the first time, or you only talked about one time? I don't understand. Heartbreaking. I don't like. Between 2020 and 2022, plaintiff fell victim to one or more criminal sex acts at the hands of Sean Combs. So the one or more criminal sex acts I get, because you could be fuzzy outside of, violating his back door. There could have been other sex acts. But the between 20 and 2022, that I don't understand. Not saying that victims don't go back, because at the end of the day, you could want to be in this man's clique and stuff like that, and whatever. I don't even go into the weeds anymore about victims who return, or you never really know what's going on with people. But in reading this lawsuit, I really expected to be at least have two incidents that occurred. So I don't know if they're saying that they're foggy, if it was 2020 or 2022, or if we can expect more out of this lawsuit later. I'm honestly really confused by this. I don't know. I don't know. And more recently, when I've been given pushback to, the survivors, they tell me all the time, things can be foggy. You can remember things later. I don't understand. If there's an attorney in the house who's here in real time who can help me to understand, that would be great. Because between 2020 and 2022, but you only listed one occurrence that happened in 2020. And somebody said that was during, when we were all in lockdown. I hadn't even thought about that. So you flew in for a party. You had people from the record label, ushering you over. I just said usher, but you had people taking you to his Hampton place. You're taken advantage of. You leave. You don't tell anybody, which we see a lot of dudes don't, because they're embarrassed. At this point, we've heard it all, but I'm not getting. Let me see if any of you guys. When you return to the same type of behavior, you are no longer a victim. The longer you wait, the less you remember. Were they threatened? I don't know either. This is getting crazy. I still think there's a lot of demons to control. Or Diddy took a video and made him come back in exchange for the footage. You never really know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you seemed like you weren't going to report it, if Diddy would call you back, or threaten you, or you'd be scared. But I don't want to put words in this victim's mouth because you never know. Let me see. Let me see if I can find that. Explaining. Person explains what GHB does to you in real time. Let's see. I'm trying to find a video where somebody very plainly tells you what GHB does to your body, because I read the comments and I see where people talk about, well, a man should be able to fight them off. Let's see if okay, let's see.
But obviously one of the other important things out in the last year. Now we know that alcohol massively increases the risk of passing out when you use G, but obviously one of the other important things is dose.
Yes.
And because it's a liquid, it's kind of difficult to dose. I'm just wondering if you can take us through what some of those issues are.
Absolutely. I mean, if you buy GBL on the internet, you're going to get a bottle of it like this. It's going to be sold to you as a cleaning agent or something other than as a drug. So this is a 500 ml bottle of GBL. And of course, if you try and pour it out from that, it's really difficult to assess the quantity. So it'll often be used in dropping bottles like this. So that will be decanted into one of these little bottles, and then you have a sort of pipette, and you can measure the dose that way.
That says how many mils you're taking and things. Okay.
Yes, exactly. But of course, to try and do that in a club or when you're out is pretty difficult. So we've seen people repackaging it. So we've seen it in, for example, these little sushi bottles.
And I've seen that in Australia a lot as well.
Yes, so they'll contain a couple of mils, and that obviously reduces your likelihood of overdose, because if you take all of it, it isn't an overdose. That's the point.
Absolutely.
We've also seen it packaged in drinking straws, heat-sealed drinking straws. So this one's got GBL in it. Again, a unit dose, if you like, which makes it less likely that you might overdose.
We've seen it this year that the average dose that people are taking at a time is between 1 and 2 mils, and people are trying to leave that dose more than a couple of hours.
So we have to hope that in these allegations, Diddy is even dosing it out, because if he's not dosing it out, and it's something that I've not heard anybody talk about except for a survivor, is if 3,000 people came forward, what about the people who overdosed? You just heard them say it's extremely easy to overdose. We've not heard about any deaths because, they might roll you over, or they have connections to the police department so they can get rid of the body. But we don't know that these things are being dosed out appropriately. We just know that the alleged victims who are coming forward are able to tell their tale. What about the people who are not?
Because one of the things that seems to predict harm is how frequently you're taking it, and those people who are needing to take it every hour are building up tolerance and possibly dependence. But as you said, in a club, using a pipette is a really difficult thing to do. Any other things people are doing, perhaps to try and make their use a bit safer?
We've also seen them
somebody said the membership. If you go to the description of every video, there'll be a link to membership. Thank you. I saw people subscribed. I'll get to that in a minute. I just think this is important because people always have questions of what it's like to be on GHB, and technically everybody's tolerance level is going to be different. We don't know if it was dosed correctly. They might have gave you some shit that could knock out an elephant.
GBL in capsules. So these are refillable capsules, and they hold about 1.5 mils of GBL. And that's another way of effectively producing a unit dose. So really quite a good harm minimization strategy, I think.
Absolutely. I guess, though, one of my worries is that this is also a drug that can affect your memory.
Yeah.
And so actually people can sometimes not remember when they last took a dose or how many doses they've taken over a night. And certainly working in medical Mardi Gras in Australia, one of the things we would see typically when people came round from passed out is they would search their pockets for their little fishies, not remembering if they had any on them.
Yeah.
And I guess that's one of the other things that adds to people's vulnerability, because when people pass out on GHB, they are unbelievably unconscious, incredibly vulnerable to assault, but also
think Michael Jackson and propofol. think Michael Jackson in propofol. I've only had one major surgery, and the doctor said something to me that scared me, and I was like, yeah, just give me whatever they gave Michael Jackson. He was like, that's what we're giving you anyway. He said, this is going to be the best sleep of your life. And I woke up and was like, the surgery didn't even happen. So on a smaller scale, that's what GHB is like. If you've ever been in surgery, they give you that stuff and you're like, oh, I'll be, and then you're groggy, and then like that, you're gone.
Also, they can't remember
Absolutely.
what's happened.
Yeah.
So I think one of the other really important things is people look out for their mates on G.
Certainly. There's also some interesting legal issues, of course, because GBL is a controlled substance.
Somebody said, why are these guys talking about it like victims be dosing themselves? Well, that's the thing. You don't just have to be a victim. I found out a lot of stuff now. So some people take it as a recreational drug. But I would imagine that dosing would be a lot less than what Diddy would dose somebody to knock them out, right? Some people, Erykah Badu said in one of her songs, and then I slipped my, wait, hold on, no, not Erykah Badu. It was Lil' Kim. She said, slip myself a Mickey. That's the proper set off. So people have been talking about this for years, but I was super young. I didn't know what a Mickey was. In fact, off topic, the reason I don't really be getting too much on Sexy Red, because I remember when I was little, people like Lil' Kim was talking about sucking blood out of people, and I didn't really know what that meant. Technically, I don't really know people who, it was like a song with Too Short. But the point is, people will give themselves GHB. And the first time I heard about that was like Lil' Kim. So, it's all up and through, and it ain't just hip hop. It's, everywhere.
When it's for human consumption. And in this form, you could argue that it's a cleaner of some sort. But as soon as you start to put it in the capsules, then it becomes more obvious that it is for human consumption. So it might well be that this would be regarded as an illegal product, whereas perhaps these products might not be.
So you reduce your risks in one way and increase them in another.
Absolutely.
Thank you, John.
Anyway, I just thought that was important. So I don't want you guys to think that just because it might have been a man or a security guard, you never really know. And if Diddy is acutely aware of how long the drug takes to work, and he's telling people who allegedly have cameras ready to film the situation, they're ready now. This is a well-planned, I don't even know, scheme. I don't even know the right verbiage for what this is, but time and time again, we're seeing people who do not know each other who are saying the exact same thing over and over again. So it's something to think about. I keep saying this, and I can't stress this enough. Use this shit as a cautionary tale. You never really think it's going to happen to you until it happens to you. Whether you, a man or a woman, and you want to go out and have a drink by yourself, and then people just seem extremely nice to you, be on the lookout. If people are offering you drinks, or they're asking you to just, you can go to the bathroom without your drink, I'll watch it for you. Just use this as a cautionary tale, because the rich, the powerful, the attractive, if you don't technically know somebody, and shit, some of the people you do know are not trustworthy. They might be a handler. So you got to kind of have to be cognizant of all of this shit while going out to have a good time. But the alternative is to get caught up in some stuff like this. Maybe because you like being around celebrities, or maybe because you feel comfortable because your friend is there. Well, your friend could get taken advantage of too. Even down to like small things, like if you see something weird with your car door, if there is a substance on your car door, if you look and there's like a tag or something that's not supposed to be there, and you think it's just innocuous, I would probably return back, call the police before touching it, before trying to drive home, because the people tag your cars now. They see you going in, they see you with certain jewelry, they see you look a certain way. They will tag your car and they will follow you. So you just kind of have to like use this. It's horrible to discuss all the time. Honest to God, this content it can get dark. So I suggest don't get yourself wrapped up in it. Use it as a cautionary tale. Use it as an educational example of what not to do. And, then we've done our job. Talk to people about it. You don't just have to share. I mean, sharing my content is great, but you don't have to just share my content. Share these stories with people. Let them know that this shit exists. You think you're cute, you got on your little black dress, you decide to do some self-care and go on a date by yourself. And then next thing you know, it's a couple dudes who are talking to you. One gets your attention, the other one slips something in your drink. It doesn't just activate like that. It just kind of makes you more susceptible to, you know, what they're telling you to do. Oh, just come with us, or oh, we're friends now, or whatever the case may be, whatever game they're running. Just be aware. And all of these videos will have not been in vain. Just be aware. We got a lot of new members. Oh, thank you. Buddha Goddess, Carolyn Bird, Ambi, Lady Bell, Chantilly Lace, Worry About Yourself, good morning. Lavarian Simmons, Lavarian Simmons, Renee, yay, Pronor, thank you for joining. Nazra, thank you for joining. I am EDI, thank you for joining. Dog Mom, Black Doll Baby, Danita Edwards, Miss Foodie, Tommy, Cara, Who Diva Key, Justelina, Melanin Mommy, Miss Quitter, Kayla Jones, Grown Women Don't Try Me. Love your content, memes. Your deep dives are awesome, and your critical thinking is always on point. Thank you. And thank you for being a member for 22 months. This is why I do content creators. Oftentimes they come out and they serve a purpose. They're entertainment. They are people who get your mind off what you have going on. But I see something like this and it makes me also want to say, I appreciate you guys. That's why I go out and I buy, like, you know, gifts for Christmas, or I try to do like some outreach from time to time. I haven't done that recently. I still need to reach out to that lady and see if I can help, but that's why I do it. I appreciate you, honest to God. I do. The fact that you even choose whether you join my membership or not, and you choose to spend time listening to me, whether you agree or not, that means a lot. Noreen, thank you for joining. L. Deshelle, thank you for joining. Holly, thank you for the super sticker. And Doree Angel, fun fact, there was a real man named Mickey Finn in the 1900s of Chicago who put drugs in patrons' drink, then took their money or pow-pows when they passed out. Oh, really? I can believe it, especially in Chicago, but they said that that's where all the gangsters used to live. And Yvette, now salute to Mims. Thank you. And salute to you guys. I really do appreciate you guys. Tanasia, thank you for becoming a member. I will try my best to get the Foxy Brown video out today, but I can tell you that we're definitely doing members only live tonight. That's happening. So see you guys later. Just protect yourselves. Just be cautious. Cautionary tales for sure. Y'all have a good one.